Here comes the nasty gram.
Send a priest to save my soul, forget it.
Welcome back to the Nastygram RPG podcast. This is our Dark Legacy wrap-up session. Stick around as we collectively crawl way up our own asses to discuss the arc, our characters, the game, the story, the mystery, all that kind of good stuff. And don't forget to tune in next week where we will be answering your questions. If you download this on release, you got a few hours till 5 p.m. August 30th, 2022 to submit any questions to any of our social links or by emailing us nastygrampod@gmail.com. Anything you guys want to know about this arc or Nastygram in general. And that's it. Enjoy our Dark Legacy wrap-up.
Hey, this is Jake, your storyteller, and this is the Dark Legacy wrap-up. I'm joined by...
Dan here. Silas made it through. Still alive.
John here. Noah, the now vampire hunter.
Hey, it's Ryan. I was Les Kershaw, the former devil.
Slash postal worker.
Yeah.
I believe it. I believe it.
Living character.
This is Josh. I played Kingsley Burke IV, former politician, possibly vampire, just all-around American hero.
And I am Matt, who played Benton Beauclair, the voodoo vampire hunter.
Nice.
All right, well, how do we do these things usually? Where do we start? At the beginning? Do we want to talk about... What did you guys think of your characters? Were you all happy with what you decided to play? I feel like maybe early on, Josh might have had a little bit of trepidation and thought, oh shit, what did I get myself into with this completely unphysical character? So I don't know. I'd like to hear how you guys enjoyed your characters, the arcs they kind of took, and if you wish you had done something different. I don't know.
I liked Noah a lot. I do think that it took me a little while to figure out what the arc was going to be for him, because the flaw I picked didn't really come to fruition, or the vice rather. So the whole vampire hunter at the end was really a good way to round out his character and kind of come up with something new.
Yeah, I liked it too because from pretty early on, I was actually surprised that you leaned pretty heavily into the religious angle.
Yeah.
And I mean, it makes sense with the time period and everything, but just from knowing you as a person, it's like, oh, he's really going out on a limb here.
Well, I definitely wanted to play a character that I wouldn't necessarily be or agree with.
Right.
But also part of it was the fact that what I read about Switzerland in the 1800s and the fact that they went through basically a civil war over religion, over Catholicism versus Protestantism. I kind of wanted to bring a bit of that religion into the character after reading it all. So
Nice.
Cool.
I enjoyed playing Benton.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Voodoo is very interesting.
Yeah, you going to convert? You thinking about it?
No, I'm still was agnostic.
You know, you definitely did a ton of research. I think you all did. I know John did a lot of research on Switzerland.
that never came up.
It's irrelevant.
I literally have like
But
a book
it
report.
factors into the character, though. As
Yeah.
your point was made, like, bringing that the religious aspect. I think the research is always worth it.
Yeah. Matt, how did you feel about? I know this is sensitive subject matter that will get us canceled. How did you feel about playing an ex-slave? That seems hard.
Yeah, it was interesting. I think you did a really good job of, not really making anything about it. You know what I mean? Like he wasn't really made to feel a part of much. But on that, I think Josh, you did an amazing job playing a closeted racist.
It's uncomfortable to play in 2022. Like, if you're a white politician in 1870.
Yeah, listening back to some of the episodes, I was like listening to it and I was like, I noticed myself just tuning you out because I was like, I fucking hate this dude and I want nothing to do with what he says. I was like, oh wait, no, it's the character and it's part of the story. Like I have to listen. So like, I think having the two different types of characters, but it never really being an issue, was a lot of fun.
Yeah. I like that. Was one of my favorite parts of, like, on the surface, Kingsley is the most maybe borderline successful, you know, everybody else is successful, but like powerful person, right?
Absolutely.
And can speak with authority, but it made it a lot easier knowing that he was wrong. He was the most wrong. So it's easier to like lean into that, not be the guy who's like right and using his
power to be
so it's
right.
like it's a little easier to kind of speak with that kind of tone of authority, like around a table of friends, knowing that meta wise, like you're fucking off base.
channeling hints of Redmere, Governor Redmere.
But no, I mean, and I did have I had a lot of fun. I wanted a challenge, and I wanted to play a flawed character whose, you know, flaws, both like literally physical and character wise, you know, informed like the role playing. And then kind of more than I expected was like, okay, this is actually gonna be a challenge, but it really kind of made it easy to like inform the decisions and all the situations that you presented him in, Jake, and his dynamic with the other characters. I had a really good time role playing him. I would have never expected where his arc went. And this came off mic after we wrapped up the finale. And I think, Dan, you're spot on. I think if he hadn't accepted the offer from Lydia, he probably would have accepted the deal at the end.
Yep.
But I think having taken it, he thought he had a new way.
It's a very political move, right? You know, to accept one deal and turn down another. Like, and
a vampire and, you know, the devil. It's like, you know, the Democratic Republican Party. Saying one or the other.
I think you did. I mean, you missed an opportunity too to try to get a better deal out of the devil there.
leverage.
Let me go back and then talk to Lydia again.
Ryan, what about you?
So it was funny because I almost didn't play less in this game. I'm glad that I did. I had a lot of fun playing the character. And that is pretty much, I mean, that's kind of the arc I had, you know, in mind too.
Really?
I had, he was, you know, very committed to Marlowe, and that was, you know, it was going to be as Beauclair, you know, put it often as, you know, what lengths would you go to? And that was never a question. It was any length.
I think that I failed to see that.
You know where we missed it, Jake? You know where we missed it? Where? When Benton and Silas went to the church along with him, and he, as soon as danger was on the table, he was gone.
Right. And
no matter what the truth was.
I knew you were committed, which, and my goal almost was
to convince him
to get you to kill Marlowe. Like less
equally
like
tragic.
your character in particular.
Yeah.
Because
Would have been the most Shakespearean.
Right.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it was that scene where you like left the church to go back to the house that I was like, he is unwavering. And it was also that scene when I was like, and he will be corrupted.
I love the idea of being offered knowledge that, you know, even the character less probably knew that it would maybe change his mind,
right?
But you willfully ignoring that part of your brain that wants to know the truth because you know you're going to learn the truth and it'll change your mind.
Quite on the nose for 2022.
Oh gosh,
Danny boy.
Yeah. Silas was good. I liked him. I think I left some stuff on the table, but that's just sort of how the character unfolded.
You leave stuff on the table.
Yeah, right. I think it was because we had early days. You and I had talked about, you know, you create a character and you don't know what you're going to bring into the game always.
Yeah.
And we had created some like background tension, which came out in the initial parts about, you know, selling weapons to the enemy and things like that. But I think what's always important is to kind of follow where the story goes. And that led for, I think when I created the character, I did want him to have some element of having seen behind the veil, of taking that quality. So he wasn't, in a lot of ways, he provided a foil to, you know, I think Kingsley, who was of, you know, usually of disbelief and to some extent even Noah and then Les, Les kind of followed wherever Marlowe went. So I do think he was important in that respect. So it was cool. It was interesting to see where the game ended up too. I think there's a lot of options if we ever wanted to pick this up. Sans Les, where it could go.
I think that brings up a thing about bonds that I think we did for a couple episodes, but we fell behind on them. And I'm wondering what your guys' thoughts are on why, or if there's something we did or didn't do that probably could have.
I didn't make a cool spreadsheet.
But I think too, it has something to do with this, how the story moves.
I think it's really hard to, even with a great session 0, and I think we're all great role players. But when you make characters who you've never interacted with each other, and you come up with bonds based off this session 0, and it's part of what informed the way I'm planning to do bonds on the next arc I run, which is having like a mini session 0 to start, but sort of doing a session 0 at a early point in the campaign.
Yeah.
And filling those things in then.
Yeah. I know we've talked about that a lot, really trying to take a mini session and get it in before the game, just so the transition to the actual game is a little smoother.
Yeah, I think that this whole idea of bonds and everything, I love it. I love that we've started to use it, but it's a constantly evolving process.
Yeah.
And I think every time we finish an arc, we kind of talk about like, how can we make the system work better? And like, to Josh's point, I think having it be something where you don't pick ahead of time and you sort of integrate it into the first couple sessions does make it a lot better. It makes it more organic and something that everyone's going to remember more, because we all have that shared experience of like, oh, that's why John's character has that bond,
I think also it's up to us to, at the end of sessions, to review those bonds and make sure that they're valid. Because I think one of the things that we don't do with bonds is have a change in the moment, specifically like in this character arc, the distrust between people and the group and Kingsley, or the 3 versus 2. There could have been bonds going back and forth on those that we could have used for role playing moments. I mean, we did it anyway, so it's kind of just a way to get willpower. But
I have a question always that's I think a familiar one for the DM at the end of a game. What are the big 90-degree turns that we made, or 180s that, stories that you left behind because we made different decisions?
I think that the listeners might miss a lot of the sort of between game. I mean, a lot of times after a game session, I'll ask you guys like, where do you want to go next time? So a lot of that doesn't happen on mic, but it just helps me to plan ahead. And because of that, it might seem like I have everything sort of planned out and everything is on the rails, but it's not. It's really like at the end of a session, I'll kind of ask you guys, what do you want to investigate? Where do you want to go for the next session? And that helps me to kind of write what's next. But there was a lot of things that happened a lot later than I expected. And part of it is just, I don't know. It's just the way the game kind of unfolds and the choices that we all make in making the game. I didn't expect you to meet his wife so late in the game.
Yeah.
I would have liked it if she had been introduced earlier. But it was fine. And the same thing with the priest. I had like pages of info on him because I thought he would be like one of the first NPCs you talk to.
I think it's one of those weird things, like, in like movies or TV shows or anything like that too. Like, sessions can be an afternoon or one day. And so,
the game only took, there was a week past at the last episode, but before that, the whole thing was like 5 days. It reminded me a lot of your Star Wars game when you have that part where they land on the planet and you're like, it's like 7 episodes, but it's like 24 hours. So a lot happened in a short amount of time. I didn't expect you guys to when you found out that you had been dominated, spoiler, and into bringing that stuff along, I didn't expect you to like leave it all behind. I thought that would be in play.
Yeah.
Either in the defense of the house or in killing Marlowe at the end, like making sure he didn't leave the church or something.
I think to your point, if we had spoken with Lydia earlier and maybe come to some sort of agreement with her being, that we're trying to protect Marlowe from X, that it might have been a chance.
I was excited to see how it ended because I had no idea what way you guys would take it. And like I said, I did not expect I didn't expect you guys to fight the devil.
Did any of you guys have any real consideration for your characters taking the deal? I think I said that Kingsley did, but ultimately kind of made the decision based off the deal he already made. But I guess the other three that didn't take it.
I think Noah's pretty set in his ways by that point. In fact, that he was going to fight evil one way or another. So he didn't want to succumb to it.
Yeah, I don't think Benton he wasn't going to take the deal.
I think for Silas, having spoken with the priest and had the glimpse into the past, I think that all reinforced the kind of the mission in front of him, that the alternative to try to be, some sort of balance to powers like this was pretty appealing.
I did think that I had a chance of getting you, Dan, with the whole idea of your character thinking he could find a way to save himself.
Yeah, there was an element of that. I think something that I had talked about earlier, with my character, I think if I had played up him having more of an occult past and having done more, but at the same time, the voodoo, I think, from Matt's character felt very unique, and I didn't want to like tread on that space. I think, and I like that because Matt, I thought Benton was a phenomenal character.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed. Yeah, that was all the things that you brought to it between the accent and the actual like knowledge. I thought that was really.
I
cool.
liked everybody's character voices.
Yeah,
yeah. I think.
I was kind of silly, but I enjoyed it.
I think it's the best arc for character voices so far.
Yeah.
I think
strong.
So.
They were all very unique.
I would say mine's pretty much myself.
Well, no, I mean, what I mean is at the table, like listening back, there are 5 unique voices. I'm never like, who's talking? Like that's never an issue in this arc.
Jake, did you have a plan or a thought if no one took the deal?
No, because I was pretty sure Ryan would. I was kind of rooting for a second player to take it and for him for you guys to lose.
Yep.
I thought it would be pretty awesome to reveal that in like an epilogue.
Yeah.
I had
bad guys can't always win.
Consideration if like even after Kingsley thought he knew it was less, if he would let him go and then try to connect with him later, but ultimately he knew that he wasn't going to get out of that church
before the sun,
unless something else happened.
I liked that shout out you gave to him, like, let us find you before you were 50.
Yeah.
I thought that was cool. It was a cool option if Jake was going to let him get away. But
my thought was that if Ryan escaped, I would basically ask Ryan if he wants to like kind of turn himself in later on, you
do a scene when he was 50 years old.
Right.
Well, I mean, it was so my deal was
50 more years.
50 more years. Yeah. Which was going to be I was going to be like, it's 50 more years, not 50 years. See you later.
Kingsley would be there.
Yeah. we could meet up.
That would be such a cool scene.
That would actually be a crazy scene.
Yeah.
Right? You're fucking like 70. Kingsley looks the same.
There was another question I was going to ask.
Well, you storyteller. What else you got?
I don't know. What did you guys think about the sort of mystery? I felt like it, I don't know. Did it unfold at a good pace? Was there enough to kind of bite onto? I find it challenging sometimes to give enough, especially with you guys who've been role playing together for so long. It's hard to not give it away. Mainly because we know each other really well. I think you guys kind of know like my process and
here's I guess before we answer that, my question that I had been thinking on for you, Jake. I know we've talked about how we write games and how we come up with game ideas. What was the scene that you thought of to write this game?
So it wasn't a scene. It was actually just the idea of so there's actually a short story by H.P. Lovecraft about this guy whose family is cursed apparently, and like they keep getting murdered over the years, and they find out that it's like this dude who lives in the basement who like uses like alchemy to like keep himself alive. Or I'm totally hacking this up, but it was that gave me the idea of like, oh, wouldn't it be cool to have a sort of generate like a curse on a family where you basically knew you weren't going to live past a certain age. And that kind of, I tossed that idea around for like, a year, because that was a long time ago, because you guys played the longest Star Wars arc of all time. So yeah, that's kind of the seed, the what if that started the whole thing. I'll tell you one big regret that I thought of halfway through running this game. I thought this would be a better story if I had one of you play Marlowe.
Really?
I don't know.
So?
Maybe.
And that we were just part of the investigative party?
Yeah. I was like, would it be better if one of you
knowing that
were the person?
Okay.
Like, you don't have to be Marlowe, but if one of you were the one whose family was cursed.
I liked it as it was.
I think the stakes being equal for everyone is probably a little better.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Okay.
And it, I think it helped with the doling out of information. I think the only downtime, I think there were times when Marlowe was off screen because of good role playing.
Sure.
Because of not like always wanting to always wanting to be interjecting that like, that character should have probably been present.
Yeah.
Right.
But other than that, I think it worked out better this way. And as the question about the mystery, honestly, I thought it paced out great. I make a concerted effort to try, like, even when I watch like TV or stuff like that, I don't really want to figure it out ahead of time. I want to like be in it and like not overthink it and like let the thing like come at me. And I like to be surprised or whatever. But obviously, like, we're investigating. But even with that, man, like I think for a long time, I was hung up on connecting the dots between these attacks, the protector. And so that idea that it was actually kind of the separate thing, was cool. But I didn't put it all together.
That's we were there in about episode 6 or 7 that we started to conclude that. So that's over halfway through the arc.
Yeah, at some point, I re-listening to the episodes, there is a point where Dan calls it out pretty exact, but
it's the kicker at the end of episode 6. Because I just listened to it today. We're laughing in the post credit scene. And Dan pretty much lays out the entire plot.
I don't even remember. That's funny.
But you were late. Yeah, exactly. You didn't remember. Like you said it, and then I was like, must not react.
I thought to the idea of Lydia not being introduced as early, I think it also, on the flip side, it gave her more weight.
Yeah,
that scene
that's true.
When she fucking comes back and like lays out the tarot cards.
Yeah,
like
dope.
Obviously, we're all suspicious of her, but that amped it up. And I think if she was a little bit more familiar by then, it wouldn't have had as much like.
Because you would have been tempted to throw in a couple of the mysterious parts about her,
right.
So it'd be less of a shock that she's like a demon,
vampire.
Vampire.
Yeah, I didn't see that shit coming. I was telling Sarah after the end of, I think it was like after the end of episode 10, I was like, what the fuck? Is the fucking devil? Like, I did not. I thought it was her the whole time. I've been planning on how to kill her, and like now there's something else. Like, I don't. And then it was like, oh, the plan is to kill the devil. I was like, well, that's not going to fucking work. Like, that's stupid as hell, but that's the route we're going. Like, okay.
Speaking of 90-degree turns, though, there was one. Ryan hightail 180ing it back to Marlowe's.
That was huge, right?
Yep.
And it wasn't. I mean, I guess in the end, it didn't change anything.
Sure.
Although I thought it was going to.
It might have changed the end.
Yeah, it might have, but
Marlowe, I mean, depending on how you wanted to run it, would have had a harder time surviving that.
right, yeah. But it was definitely unexpected. And that was sort of my. I was like, I know I need to do something really extreme to get Ryan's character on board with what has to be done, which is to kill Marlowe.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
So when you left, I was like, he will not be on board. He will never be on board.
I feel like if the threat was still had not left the church, so
Right.
if the people were, if it was still there,
you would have started shooting there.
I might have. No, but
blasting.
I would have at least listened. At one point, I did have a not really well thought out plan to just like barricade and burn down the church and be like, problem solved.
So,
But,
was it that Les wanted to die, but the devil didn't want you to die? So did it force you to run, or
I basically told him he had to get out. He had to escape.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I think before I got that nasty gram, my plan was to lay down.
Yeah.
But that wouldn't
have been very interesting.
shitty.
That wouldn't have been very exciting.
makes sense?
So yeah, I mean, it was more sacrificial, but then it's more fun if I run a little bit. So.
Yeah.
And speaking of surprises, I didn't think that last game session would exist. Like I didn't think
that's
that
right.
there like, and I'm really glad that you guys decided to take that route because I really enjoyed how it turned out.
Yeah, it was awesome.
But that was none of that was part of my original plan.
It's funny you said that after that session.
Mm-hmm.
And I had already had it in my mind to kind of go that direction. And then you said something, I think it was as Agila, and you said like when we were going to confront Marlowe, or I don't think I was even there. Maybe it was to John, to Noah. Like he's going to think of about his family, about his kids. And I was like, yep, definitely going that angle.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Well, because the idea was that I thought he was going to use his kids as the reason why he wouldn't let you kill him.
Right, because it would curse
to pass it on.
Right.
And I thought that would force you guys into a confrontation where some of you took his side and tried to help him escape, and some of you were trying to kill him.
Yeah.
And it was really sad, and that would be a really sad World of Darkness.
This was probably the game with the most potential for all-out inter-party conflict that we
that's
played
true.
in a while.
But it wasn't. It didn't feel bad about.
No.
Like,
Didn't
I thought
feel
it
stressed.
would be realistic.
I thought that is how this game would end.
Yeah.
I thought this game would end with party fighting. And I mean, technically it did, but not really.
Yeah.
But I was like, we can do this. We are mature role players.
I went to last game. I didn't plan an epilogue because I was like, they're going to go after Kingsley at some point. There'll be a
Yeah.
I think
decision point.
Silas is very much of the idea that these things exist in the world, and not necessarily that one can't exist, but like taking on the whole nature of what the story was about. I think that's why, of all, I never thought Silas would openly go after someone to, like, as Kingsley became something other, or but I mean. Yeah, I can't really let the devil run around.
Yeah.
but-
Why not?
I thought more from Benton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Matt, I really liked your temptation scene, even though it's funny. I was like, this is fucking pointless. Why would I, what does he even have to offer you? But it still ended up being a really cool scene. And I really liked the part where you're talking about how there is already evil. You're basically I know this isn't the only thing you're doing, which was cool. I thought that was a nice addition.
Yeah, I think, when those scenes started happening, it was like, well, Benton's going to get an offer made for him. And my first thought was well, I could take it and then slit my own throat. But I don't really think that's Benton's style. He's not, he knew even if he accepted the offer and killed himself, that he's making it to other people. Somebody else is going to accept it. Like so his best bet was to stay and like fight again, and like not thinking he was going to get out of this, but like actually give his life to try to, stop this. So yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah,
I think
I liked how it unfolded.
What's always a risk as a game master sometimes is when you're playing like a omniscient being that's trying to be like uber intelligent. It's hard to, craft a deal that is like inescapable that the devil might offer. So I thought you did a good job on that.
Yeah, like I said, I didn't really think I had any chance of getting John or Matt to agree. I thought there was a slight chance that Silas and then a good chance for Josh's character, fucking Kingsley. But yeah, Ryan was the one I was like, after that last game, I was like, all right, this is the conflict.
Yep.
That one at
I was like,
least,
I don't want to fucking fight where you guys are fighting Diablo and he's like a multi-stage boss. like that's not like a World of Darkness fucking thing,
I just think it was good. It was clever to make the offer and then cut, because you could argue back and forth forever, right? You could try to shop the deal around. Josh.
Right.
But
One of the things I like about playing World of Darkness is that, we go into it, we know we're playing a World of Darkness game. And again, the game system is called Vampire. But honestly, up until pretty late in the game, I didn't know that there were going to be vampires. I didn't know that Lydia was actually a vampire.
Yeah.
I was just like, it's World of Darkness. There's going to be dark shit, but you never know what elements, like whoever's running the game is going to bring into that world.
Yeah.
It literally wasn't until like Lydia basically gave Kingsley that offer. Is like, oh, she is a vampire.
Hey, I didn't know there was going to be a player character vampire. That was certainly a surprise.
Yeah.
When you said you wanted to do when you're like one more scene, I was like, fuck. I knew immediately what you were going to ask for, but that was cool. Yeah.
It was a better arc, because the other potential arc for Kingsley was, the become a hero in a real way.
Yeah, right.
But this felt more World of Darkness and probably more appropriate to the character.
Yeah. Well done.
Anybody have any character regrets?
I regret not getting Silas's camera sooner.
It worked. I mean, the thing is like I said, there are things that you write into a character's backstory. Some of it you leave behind. Some of it you can bring to the forefront. So I think, it was going to be a ways and means to bring his occult forward. But again, I prefer the route that we went, in the sense I think of Matt's character being the guide, because I think you played that character really well between like tarot and the dreams, and I think the photography and stuff might have been distracting to that. So I like how it turned out.
And to be fair, episode 4, you guys went back to the train. I didn't tell you couldn't take your cameras.
Yeah, right.
You were like, it's not possible.
Was it a magic camera?
It was the carriage.
Detect evil.
I thought you were just enough of a bridge, because there were a lot of times where Benton felt very separate from the whole party. And, Matt role-played an awesome character, and it was very authentic for where he was coming from. But I think without Silas having a little bit of overlap, it would have basically been like
an island,
a party plus one, sort of. And I think Silas did enough to, and somewhat with Noah's connection with Sheila, and Ryan had the thing with Wakara. I kind of wish there was more of that.
Wakara, I do. I think too, like maybe the only regret is that I played the bridge knowing Silas's background, that he had traveled different parts of the world, taking pictures for like journalism and things like that. So he had a more worldly view, but I didn't really bring that into context. I just played it that way. So, maybe not leveraging how he came to be who he was, but
I should have got a couple more scenes of Wakara in there.
I think I definitely didn't. It very hastily strewn together because my other I almost played a Civil War ambulance driver who became a coroner and was a conscientious objector, which would have been a completely like the absolute opposite of what I ended up playing. And I had that character drawn up, and then when I came for the session 0, I think I just kind of said, well, no, fuck it, I'm going to go back to that other concept that I had. Yeah.
I mean, it obviously it worked out really well, and I think it was good to have the character who ensured that the ending could go the way it went.
Yeah, right.
And the stuff with Wakara, I think it worked out really well. I thought it was a cool moment.
Was there ever a moment where that was explained though? Like, I mean, we gave the legend of the wolves and things like that, but we never went into your backstory to talk about that time that you got hurt. And
no, I mean the only person in game who would have known that story would have been Marlo.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think you got enough from
the context
from the DM, the storyteller, like talking to Les, and then Les's recaps.
Yeah.
I love the individual character recaps.
Yeah, you guys did awesome with those. And I mean, we just recorded the last couple, and they're so good. They're so fucking good. Dan, yours sound like yours read like Lovecraft stories. They really do. Like you got that style down. It's really great.
World of Darkness is pretty inspiring.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just I think it's a really cool way to do an episode recap that refreshes the listener to what happened in the last episode, but all through the context of one character's eyes. You get, character building and backstory into it, which I think is cool.
Yeah, I think that's such a unique opportunity to give someone a kind of solo voice for a minute.
Yeah.
How did you guys get it in your head that there was a pterodactyl?
I mean, it came down, it grabbed him.
Yeah, because there's no prints, I think.
Did someone say bird?
Someone fucking said
and then
bird.
someone said pterodactyl.
Oh, I think Matt got on it somehow about like a creature that like the only creature that could have done it.
The first body, I think it was the nastygram you sent me was like, it looks like his like guts were ripped open and he was dropped from a tall height.
Yep.
So like Ben was like, well, that's a bird. Like a bird's going to pick something up and drop it from a tall height. Like,
Nice.
well,
The whole
I don't
time
know
I'm
what kind
like,
of bird it is.
as we're playing the game, I'm like, should I make it a bird? Like, did they want a bird?
When I was listening back to it, I was like, I should have made it. I should have gone like with a Thunderbird thing at that point too.
Like, it was one of those moments as a game master where you're like, should I change my intention? Because
take
it
the
seems
idea.
like that's what they think it is. Like, is that better? I'm like, is there a giant bird in the forest?
That was just like a throwaway bent on like joke.
But it
Conviction.
stuck. But it really stuck.
The whole like Black Ichor corruption bear thing, was that just kind of World of Darkness-y?
I actually kind of fucked up in the last episode. I wanted I wanted your character to leave that behind.
A little fucking snail trail?
Yeah, when like I should have done it when you killed Tandem.
Was she
I should
Nosferatu?
have, because I just wanted it to be. I just wanted it to be like a sign of like
A mark of corruption.
Yeah.
Like literally the shadow given form. Because she's La Sombra.
Chambre.
You're La
like
Sombra.
it. I like it.
Let's dominate. You didn't get up tenebration though. I was thinking that I was like, oh, I need to find a place where, even if it was just like a little thing where like you wipe it off your fucking shoulder or something, you know?
Yep.
I mean, was everyone else as convinced that the bear was a Sheila too?
At first,
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
I was listening back to that. I'm like, oh, we are like just
Yeah, we're on that mission.
Yeah, we are so
But
fooled
we
by
should have
these-
known when there's no fish racks.
Yeah, these roofs totally. Yeah,
It was pretty obvious
Yeah.
if you think about it.
fish drying racks were the door noises of this arc. We always need one dumb thing to fucking focus on.
Harp on.
I feel like also listeners probably are like, what the fuck is so funny about Scree?
Yeah.
Should we explain that?
That's a really horrible inside joke that doesn't need to. Yeah.
Is it? What was your
It's
character?
Goliath,
You had a
Something
D&D
that Goliath
character?
have.
Stratos,
And
yeah.
treat Scree as open ground,
as normal terrain.
and you always would ask if there was
No, it was. I didn't even ask it. I just read it in the description, and all of you latched onto it, and then it carried through for the next
which was
4 years.
it was fantastic because what your character had mountain mountain awareness type, but in so many instances it was no, it's not mountain, it's just Scree. You're just in Scree right now.
Scree.
Yeah.
You're in the mountains, but there's a flat spot in the mountains.
That's right.
What did Jake? How did you feel about the mechanics of this as the storyteller of the system we used?
I like it a lot for out of combat stuff. I'm not sure if I love the combat system. It's funny. Like I always talk about how I love systems that are boiled down and made easy, and they might have gone too far.
Do you think that's because we're mortal?
Maybe that might have a lot to do with it. You're right.
Yeah, when you're a vampire, you have a lot of tricks to
there's
play.
way more
Yeah,
mechanics.
that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. I think also if I used it again, I would probably make you guys tell me what the dice pools were,
Yeah.
which is that other system is supposed to do that we were playing. But I think that makes it flow a little better. Yeah, I really like it out of combat. I really like the combining an attribute and a skill kind of on the fly.
That's really slick.
I was, when I read like firearms, I was like, oh shit, it's not always dexterity in firearms.
Yeah.
It's like dependent on the situation, you know?
Yep.
And I was like, oh, that's a really cool aspect of this game. And I think the more if we played it a lot, we would get better at doing that, at picking what is most appropriate. But I do think for combat, I don't know, maybe it would be better for vampires who have like more things to do. Maybe it would be a little bit better if I gave you guys more freedom to tell me what you were rolling.
How does it differ, you think, from old vampire? Like mortal.
The main
Less rolling.
less rolling. The biggest difference in this game from like any other system is that everything happens simultaneously.
Yeah.
There's no initiative, which is hard. I think it's so ingrained in our heads after so many years of role playing that a fight starts with an initiative roll, right?
Yeah.
To see who gets to go first. And I think that they cut that out partially because they're like, no, we want a fight to be one dice roll.
Yeah.
It also it's a way to probably speed things up, but I think it maybe leans heavier on the storyteller to describe one scene of everyone's action,
Right.
rather than each individual picking and choosing what they do and how they interact.
It really forces the storyteller to do a lot of work in like they have to be dynamic combats. There has to be like other shit going on. I think you did a really good job with that. Like with the few combats that we had, because it's the combat's so stripped down, you have to like make situations where like people are going to do things other than attack.
Right.
Because it's so basic that if you just attack, you sit there and roll one thing. I think Dungeon World is kind of the same way in that.
Yeah.
And that it's good, and it's like, I don't know, it definitely has its pluses and minuses.
Sure.
Because there's sometimes, honestly, sometimes like a fucking D&D combat can scratch an itch that like the other ones don't.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
100%.
Yeah.
Like I fucking blast this spell and then I do this and I
You
use
get to
this
roll the
ability.
dice. Yeah,
And it just like, I have more options that are right here versus like, okay, if I'm going to have options, the storyteller's got to get creative. I have to get creative. And that's
Right.
cool too.
Yep.
I think it was the right system for the kind of game we were playing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you could have.
There's probably a couple editions of Call of Cthulhu out there that would have worked as well.
Yeah.
Dungeon World, I think, would have worked too.
Yeah, but
Less powers, right?
yeah, the Dungeon World and Monster of the Week, so many of the classes are sort of supernatural magic
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
And we wanted that to be a little more mysterious in this game. So I'm happy with the system. Like I said, I think it works best out of combat. And it wasn't a combat heavy game. I didn't really expect it to be. We had that one session, that the siege, which was a lot of rolling. But again, I think the narrative worked out really well. I think you guys did a really good job of kind of describing the action along with me. So that worked out well. And then most of the other fights were really quick.
Yeah.
And I think that it's a good system for fast fighting.
I think that's the point of vampires. Oftentimes fights are a couple rounds and somebody's dead or like incapacitated or running.
Yeah.
And with vampires, like firearms exist, but there's more options for getting into hand-to-hand combat, and you have potence and celerity, and you can that spices the combat up a little, besides two groups shooting at each other from cover.
Yeah. I would love to try it again, maybe in a modern setting or close to modern.
Silas is going to have to do a lot of blood magic on everyone to get him as far as Kingsley, but
I already epilogued myself to at least 1898.
No, I think it wrapped up. I think if there were a continuation, it would be far in the future, and maybe Kingsley is an NPC who is around. Lydia, definitely an NPC who's around.
A bunch of young vampires coming up in
maybe
in Baltimore.
Maybe there's a couple organizations out there that the Order of the Burning Blade and the fucking Fashnak witch hunters or whatever.
Oh, well, it was fun to play.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun.
Jake, can you run a longer game next time so I have more of a fucking break?
Yeah.
No.
Now you're gonna be coasting on Strahd there. It'll be easy as can be, right?
Let it slip.
Oh, that's right. Well, maybe they won't listen this long.
Cut.
No, leave it in.
Oh my god, I can't believe how many cuts you've left in. By the way,
Pretty much all of them.
and they're gonna get worse. They're gonna get worse. Yeah. So if anyone out there is still listening to us, go give us
You're
a
an
good
evil
review.
person. Fuck you.
Rate, review.
Yeah. We're really good at asking for reviews.
Respond.
Yeah, our social media strengths.
Yeah. Bunch of old guys.
All right. Any closing comments? How about any what were you guys' favorite character moments or moments? Anything like that?
I'll go one thing. When everyone was reading Bible quotes, I did jump in with a quote from the Book of Mormon. Because I had been in Utah for the last 10 years, and I figured Les would not know the difference between the two.
And neither do any of us.
Yeah, that's hilarious. I think so. Josh did a Bible quote. You did Book of Mormon, and you did the quote from the sniper in Band of Brothers.
Isn't that a Bible quote?
Or Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah, same
Yeah.
right.
But I mean, it's a Bible.
It's a Bible
quote, right?
Yeah.
I'm very partial to that tower reading. Was pretty sweet.
Yeah, I like that. That's great.
That Benton did.
I love the fact the us going completely insane and realizing we brought major weapons along.
Yeah,
that was a mind fuck as a player, and I that scene of just dropping the gearbox down into the valley, not succumbing to whatever the hell Lydia wanted us to bring.
That was cool. Yeah.
I think probably also there was a moment when I think it might have been the first time anything really supernatural happened in the game. No, I guess there was the wounds that the people suffered, but I'm thinking of the smoke monster in the factory.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I was gonna say, I think that was my favorite scene was yours when you catch your reflection in the barrel and you like pull out the pistol and then blow the guy's brains out. I was like, that guy, because I think that was on the one that just released. So I listened to that.
That was episode 4. Yeah,
and I think we cut to the background of me talking about murdering that general too. I can't remember. Wow.
Yeah, I really like that. I thought that was really well done.
Mm-hmm. I like the scene that siege scene cut with the guys back in what year was it? 12, 16 or something like that?
12, 16.
Having them run that as those characters.
That was cool.
That was fucking dope. Even
yeah,
though
it was-
Ryan was supposed to be Ryan.
yeah.
I went on holiday.
But that was I like that a lot.
That was a actual siege at Dover. I think I was talking to Dan about this. So when Prince Louis tried to take over all of the world, basically. He tried to take that castle at Dover, like this really happened in 1216, and he couldn't. And he just went and took the rest of the country. But he never got that fucking there's this really cool like time lapse map of him taking over, the country, like everything turning blue slowly. But there's always that little red fucking circle on that peninsula. That's cool. And he ended up going back and trying to siege it again. And he dedicated so much of his troops to trying to take it that they were able to take back everything else. And eventually he lost.
Well,
Crazy.
He was fighting the devil, right?
He was. He was. Yeah.
Canaan.
Yeah, so it's all the French fault.
How about you,
Blame
Jake?
the French.
What was your favorite?
My favorite episode was also the siege episode. I was really nervous about how that would turn out because I did have this kind of like highbrow concept of everything is happening the same in both places as a reflection. You're looking in the window and you see the light, and then you see the light of the torch, and then and it all worked out really well, which I was happy about. Like you're on like the two sieges essentially happening at the same time. So I was very happy with how it worked out, even though Les was in the wrong side, but it ended up being fine.
I was in the right place at the right time.
You were where you needed to be. So yeah, that was a cool moment. And what else? I mean, everything from Benton, like all of his little, like when you guys first got to the tree and he does the little kind of ritual. I thought that was really cool. Yeah.
That's a lot of what I saw in Voodoo was that it's a lot of like ritual showmanship stuff. And I was like, there's a lot I can do. I was like, I don't want to just be every episode like Benton be off doing some sort of fucking wild voodoo stuff in the corner of the room while everybody's trying to have rational conversations.
No, it was not at all over the top. Like I think it was just the right amount.
Yeah, it's great.
The tarot card
reading scene was good too. You did a great job with that. And
I
again,
had
like
a
that
good setup.
that was totally like, it happened off mic, but like that was your idea. Like I wasn't like, you're doing a tarot reading. Like, I wasn't planning on doing that, so it was cool. It worked out really well.
Yeah, that was fun.
Well, thanks guys. This one was a ton of research and notes, and I usually don't run games like that. So, I mean, my last arc had fucking 2 NPCs, so this is a big change. So I'm glad to see it all kind of came together in a, I think, satisfying ending.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Good guys win.
Yeah,
Good guys win.
we got 4 in the bag, huh?
Nailed it.
4 in the bag.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Cruising.
What's next?
I think they'll find out next week.
All right.
Till then.
All right, that was fun. Thank you for listening.
Ripped up concrete, baby wailing, straight out howling, screeching brakes, lamp lights blinking. That's entertainment. That's entertainment. Smash a glass and the rumble of boots, electric train and a ripped up phone booth, exploded walls and the cry of a tomcat. What's going out? And a kick in the balls. I said, that's entertainment. That's entertainment. Days of speed and slow time Mondays. Cause now with rain on a boring Wednesday. Watching the news and not eating your tea. Freezing cold flats and tap on the walls. I said, that's entertainment. That's entertainment.
That's nasty.